Hello everyone. Welcome to Secrets Behind the Stars. All the details are in this video. If you enjoy it, a like and a subscription mean the world, and you can support us even more by tapping the join button below. Thank you for being here. Now let's get into it. For weeks, the hush around Gökberk Yildirim felt like a storm that never broke. Headlines guessed at the truth, commentators filled in the blanks, and yet he said nothing. The audience, used to his poise and measured charm, waited for a sign. When he finally chose to speak, no glossy set, no scripted answers, just a quiet room and one steady camera, the honesty of his words sent a tremor through the country. He revealed what many whispered and few dared to state outright. Cemre had not only brought him calm after chaos, she had handed him his life back. His voice didn't show off, it trembled in places, and in that tremor there was a disarming certainty. He traced the path of a love story dented by guilt, stretched by distance, and saved by the one thing fame cannot choreograph, grace. He admitted he had discovered, too late and then all at once, that some people lift you from a place you stopped believing you could escape. And, he said, when they do, you must learn how to stand beside them with both hands open. For months, their names, Gökberk and Cemre, were a single line in every column. Their chemistry lit up sets and fed the daydreams of millions. They were the couple people wanted to believe in. Talent matched with talent, ambition with ambition, a glow that made everything around them feel brighter. Under that shine, however, a ruthless clock was ticking. No matter how tight their bond, they were trapped beneath a microscope that forgives nothing. Endless commitments, schedules that chewed up their nights, the suspense of living with an audience. It all piled on until something essential began to crack. There was no fight to sell, no scandal to gawk at. Instead, there was the quiet ache of two people slipping apart in plain sight, trying to protect what remained by saying nothing at all. Then, without warning, life forced the plot to turn. One afternoon, Cemre collapsed and was rushed to the hospital. The news streaked across social media before her family could process it. The whole country seemed to hold its breath at once. In that instant, any pride or hesitation evaporated for Gökberk. He got in his car and drove through the night to a sterile building lit by the hum of machines. He didn't care about the photographers who might be watching. As it happened, none were there. The corridors were hushed, the fluorescent lights unkind. He sat beside her and didn't move. Hours bled into more hours. Nurses passed by and exchanged the kind of glance that says, "We see this, and it matters." Nobody asked him to perform. There was no place for performance at her bedside. Only devotion remained, raw and unadorned. Later, when he spoke about it, his words carried a simplicity that made hearts shake. That night, he said, he was hit by the knowledge that all the trophies in the world couldn't warm a hospital room. That the applause he'd chased couldn't make her eyelids flutter. In that chair, he confessed, I was stripped of everything except the only thing that counts, the wish to see her safe. I stayed because the alternative was air I couldn't breathe. She's my compass. She still is. When Cemre opened her eyes, she didn't know who had kept vigil for her. She blinked, found his face, and surprise turned into something soft and unguarded. No grand declaration passed between them. Their exchange was held in a kind of silence that translated to 1,000 words without breaking the hush. The days that followed stitched themselves into a new routine. He took her phone so she could rest. He tracked her medications, spoke gently with the staff, drew the blinds when the light grew harsh. The doctors, moved in a way they rarely let themselves be, remarked to colleagues that they had rarely seen that level of attention from anyone, let alone a man the tabloids insisted was made of steel. When he was asked about it, he shrugged. He didn't offer poetry, he offered a truth that felt steadier than any headline. You don't prove love by noise, he said. You prove it by not leaving when you hurt. Her being here gives meaning to my being anywhere. After Cemre regained her strength and the danger passed, the two of them vanished for a while. No red carpets, no meticulously curated shoots. They let time do what press releases never can. They talked, they walked in circles around conversations that had been waiting for them. They argued and then grew quiet and then argued again, but differently. The pressure that once sucked the air out of their home began to subside. The promise they thought they'd shattered felt less like a broken plate and more like a cup repaired with gold in the cracks, imperfect, yes, but more valuable for what it had survived. Gökberk acknowledged, in that same interview, that success can hypnotize. Pride can dress itself up as strength. But when life puts you in front of the possibility of losing the person who keeps the ground from falling away, the illusions drop. Suddenly it becomes simple. What is left without them is not a life you want. Weeks later, they resurfaced at a charity event organized by their own foundation, dedicated to supporting women at risk. They kept it understated. No theatrical entrance, no strategic posing. They held hands without squeezing too hard, smiled in an ordinary way, and gravitated toward the guests rather than the cameras. People noticed the shift. It wasn't a performance, it felt like a new language, quiet but confident. When the moment came for someone to address the crowd, Gökberk didn't pull out a speech. He stepped forward and spoke as if the microphone were a friend he trusted. He talked about the people who teach you what love is and the people who remind you how to live when you forget. He said Cemre had been both for him. He admitted she forgave him in moments he didn't like himself. He said she steadied him when it would have been easier to walk away. He said she rebuilt his belief that kindness is not naive, but brave. A hush spread through the audience, that heavy, shimmering kind of silence that appears when hearts are opening. And then applause began. Awkward at first, then swelling. People stood. Some wiped their faces in disbelief that a man who lived on the posters of half the city had just chosen vulnerability over ego. The next morning, the outlets called it the most human moment anyone had seen all year. Online, thousands wrote that they felt seen by his confession and strengthened by their resilience. It seemed as if the entire country had agreed to exhale at once. Since then, a new pace has defined them. They aren't chasing flawless. They're chasing peace. Their posts show simple scenes, a quiet dawn where the horizon looks like a promise instead of a question, a coffee cup with steam rising like a prayer, a ridiculous photo of a sweater one of them refuses to throw out, a glance that says we made it here together. The same press that had once watched them like prey now regards them with a kind of protective pride, dubbing them the couple who remade themselves out of the wreckage. In conversations, Gökberk returns to a sentence that anchors him. He says he doesn't need a new mountain to climb. He has what matters. He has the woman who looked at him when he didn't like what he saw in the mirror. He has the love that taught him to loosen his grip on control and hold on to what is gentle and real. Destiny, he says, stopped feeling like a script and started feeling like a path he wanted to walk. Cemre stepped back onto set with a different compass. The roles she's drawn to are smaller in scale but larger in feeling, stories about women who hold their own hearts together with trembling hands and keep going, stories where hope is not sunshine but a candle protected from the wind. In one interview, she said she doesn't chase flawless anymore. She wants truth, even when it's not pretty, especially when it is ordinary. She spoke about how survival alters the way you tell a story. It thins your voice in places and deepens it in others. She said she's not afraid of that. She welcomes it. And what of the name Gökberk Yildirim? Once a shorthand for star power, it now carries another meaning: evolution, accountability, a willingness to be wrong and then try again in the clear light of morning. Together, their journey stopped being just a romance and became a parable that traveled beyond fandoms and filmography. Their chapters whisper that love is not the absence of harm, but the persistence of repair. They offer proof that forgiveness, given and received, can remake a future more gently than certainty ever did. At the end of that first, raw interview, he returned to the scene by the hospital bed. He said Cemre offered him a second chance when he had nothing charming left to sell. She handed him back a life that didn't look perfect but felt honest. He said he would spend his days practicing gratitude like a craft he intends to master. When he finished, he didn't smile for effect. He went quiet. The silence that followed wasn't empty, it was full. It suggested that some truths don't need music behind them, that some endings are simply an invitation to begin again, this time with the lights down and the door open. Do you believe love can wake back up after pain has sung itself hoarse? Did the path Gökberk and Cemre walked stir something in you? Share your thoughts in the comments, we read them all. And if you like stories that go deeper than the glitter, subscribe to Secrets Behind the Stars, turn on your notifications, and consider becoming a member by clicking join to support what we do. Every like, every comment, and every new subscriber helps us bring you more real stories of love, healing, and brave second beginnings. At Secrets Behind the Stars, we believe some stories refuse to close the book, they write the next chapter. Thank you for watching. See you in the next video. Take care, and goodbye.